All right, we are live. What is going on, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to a very special live edition of the Kingdom Says. I am your host, as always, Garrett Williams. Tonight, I am joined by a full cast of characters. We've got the whole squad in here tonight. We've got Mr. Kyle Henning, top right of the screen. How you doing tonight, Kyle?
Well, currently getting absolutely hammered by rain and crazy thunderstorms. So that's been fun. But other than that, having a decent day. We'll see how the hail damage and everything comes out of this.
Yeah.
But for right now, we're good.
Very nice, very nice. Also joining us, Mr. Arrowhead Tom. How you doing, Tom?
Yeah, I am also getting absolutely hammered.
The forecast, you mean? The forecast?
No.
No, not the forecast.
I'm good, man. I'm so ready for real football. I'm ready for it.
Hell yeah, you are. And last but not least, Randy Ellenberger. How you doing tonight, Randy? Oh no, Randy's still muted. Wait, Randy, unmute.
I thought he was doing his whole episode interpretive dance style.
You could. I mean, we could do the whole. Randy, you have to hit the unmute in the studio. Randy.
Hey,
hey, there you go.
All right. No, I'm doing good now that we got that small fiasco out of the way.
We're good.
I'm good. Currently in the process of finishing up fantasy football draft 3 of 3, and getting ready for a double dip of football on Friday. I am, however, not going to be able to watch the Chiefs game as we will be playing, and I will be on the sideline, so I'll have to catch the game after our game.
Put it on your phone. Are you dedicated or what? Come on.
I told him they need to wheel out a TV. You know, they need to wheel out a TV.
Just said,
sidelines. You know,
have the media team put the projector up on the side of the press box so everybody can turn and look
I was talking to Garrett earlier. I was
it's
like,
YouTube.
We have our sideline replay system. I was like, if I could just patch in NFL Plus onto our Instagram.
Actually, that is true. It is. I forgot. It is on YouTube. You just have to go on YouTube.
It's YouTube. You don't even need NFL Plus, bud.
You don't even need it. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. That is actually
hell.
Maybe I'll have to have a bud in one ear.
Yeah, there you go.
While I have my headset on so I can hear my offensive coordinator while we're.
Yeah, I mean, are you guys using an iPad? Because if so, you just
we have our instant replay on the sideline.
You can probably have it on a mini box on the tablet, while you're looking at your plays. Yeah. It's going to be great. So, obviously, first game of the year of the 2025 season. Chiefs going down to São Paulo, Brazil, to play the Chargers in a international game. This is a very interesting. The Chiefs have been a part of a lot of international games these past couple years. We played in Germany a couple years ago. We played Mexico City. We've played in London many years ago, and so this is another one.
Germany twice.
Yeah, we've played in Germany a couple times, and we're kind of an international team now at this point. I mean, we're one of the few teams I think that Travis Kelce even mentioned on the last episode of New Heights that it's like the fourth international country that he's played a game in, which is crazy. So going down to Brazil, play the Chargers, which is technically a Chargers home game, so that's cool that we don't have to lose a home game for that. I know Chargers fans are a little upset about that. There's some
all what 9 of them that go to the game.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, that
one chick that they pay to look really, really overly excited.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Here's the thing, Chargers fans. I'm not trying to take a shot at the 7 of you that are diehards for that team.
Are you?
But your home games are just an excuse for the Chiefs fans to take a vacation to California and watch them play in California. Every time we go there, the stadium is 97% red.
All red.
And then there's a smattering of blue in there. And I think most of those are Rams fans that got confused on what day it was. Like, it is what it is, but most of your fan base is in San Diego, not in LA. It has been, it will continue to be, even though you spurned most of them because your owner is a psychopath. But that's a separate subject. Like, you can be mad, but there'll probably be more Chargers fans at the Brazil game than there will be at any SoFi game this year.
See how the fan dispersion is down there. I know a lot of times international games, you just kind of see people in every type of jersey. Just any jersey. Football, they're celebrating football, which is great. I mean, it is this big celebration internationally of football and whatnot. Last year the Packers and Eagles played down there for the kickoff week, and it was I thought it went okay. little bit interesting. Some of the situations, like apparently the hotel is a 2-hour bus ride from the stadium. That seems crazy. That seems pretty crazy. So 2 hours before the game, or 2 hours of travel during the game day.
2 hours before they normally get there. So like 8 hours before the game and 6 hours before. Like,
yeah, that seems a little crazy. The time zone difference.
There's also some
big.
other things.
Yeah.
There's some other things too, but we'll get into those when we get closer.
You're jumping ahead 2 time zones and it's like a 20-some hour. It's great. It's very interesting, the logistics of it. I know Dave Tobe wasn't very happy about it, but for all intents and purposes, it's cool. It's kind of cool to be highlighted on an international stage on a Friday night. Obviously, high school football players and coaches aren't very happy about that, taking over the Friday nights. But everybody else, it's cool. Another standalone game for the Chiefs, like the Chiefs always have. We're just always in the standalone primetime slots nowadays. It's
who is happy about it? Clark Hunt.
Clark Hunt's definitely happy. Yeah.
Mark Donovan.
Yep. Yeah, the business side people, it's always the best. So it's going to be a really fun night. We're going to get into it. We're going to kind of discuss a lot of things tonight. We've got 53-man kind of reactions, a little bit of reactions to the 53-man roster. We got a lot of it right. I mean, I think we got a lot of it right. Good for us. Good for us nailing a lot of those picks. There's a couple picks we didn't nail. We'll talk about those. Other potential storylines around the NFL. I know there's been some big movement since the last time we were on.
Garrett, did something happen?
Well, that's me. I'm doing my fantasy football draft still, and I'm on the clock.
Oh, he's on the clock. Yeah, there's been some.
Who are we picking, Randy?
Right now, okay. All right. Right now, I need a backup quarterback, and I still have Caleb Williams, Justin Fields, Jordan Love, C.J. Stroud.
You don't have Caleb Williams. You can go ahead and take that off the board.
Williams is a dog. You should probably take him. Yeah.
Or Jared Goff.
My concern about C.J. Stroud is his offensive line is made up of your high school team.
Well, I have Pat already, so I need him for 1 week.
Lockdown.
Justin Fields is a Jet, and that seems like a problem. But he might be okay for a week if he's still playing in like week 11. Jordan Love is probably your best bet there.
The teammate of the guy who was traded.
Same draft week. Can't do it. I think Jared Goff's my guy.
Jared Goff in Detroit isn't a bad idea either.
Yeah, but Jared Goff plays in the NFC North, and if I was Jared Goff, I'd be pretty nervous because there was a big trade.
What a sick.
And he plays Houston in Week 10, so I think I'm going to go with
that works.
Perfect.
That works.
But it wasn't relevant to the Chiefs, except for the fact that the Chiefs are not getting Micah Parsons.
No, yeah. I mean, I guess we might as well just highlight that since we're still, ramping up.
Well.
Generational player traded for a bag of peanuts. Response? Thoughts?
They got 2 first-round picks. The problem is
2 probably late first-round picks. No,
that's part one. Yeah. Is those first-round picks aren't going to be above 22 probably in either of the years. Also, if you were going to trade him for first-round picks, why didn't you trade him for first-round picks this year when you knew this was going to probably be a problem in, I don't know, March?
Yeah, they decided
when
to wait
you had all these problems.
The season, let's just.
It's the process thing. For me, it's the process thing. Jerry always waits till the last second to do anything, whether it's pay the guy, which always usually costs him several extra $1 million because he's the last one to pay the guy in the market for the year. Or, in this instance, it costs him draft picks because there's no way you trade him for 2 1s and an aging interior and an aging Kenny Clark, who, no, I don't dislike Kenny Clark. He's been a good player. He's also now over 30, and he's an interior basically run stuffer with a little bit of pass rush upside. He doesn't give you enough versatility or dominance to replace Micah Parsons, and that's what you're using this year. Huh?
They've been trash at getting defensive tackles in there. That's
fine.
It makes sense for the Cowboys, but also like Mozzie Smith, who they took a couple years ago, who I know the Chiefs, were interested in, and thankfully the Cowboys fell on the sword for us. Mm-hmm. It's so like to put salt in that wound. It's not only that, but you're trading. The player that's involved in that trade is a player who, like, you really wouldn't have a need for if you could draft. well.
Yeah, and it's
Right.
the Peter Griffin gif also of you guys have seen the Mystery Box boat episode of it could be anything. It could be a boat.
It could even be a boat. You're right.
Yeah,
You could
and
draft
you
two Hall of Famers
you
instead
have
of
the boat
having one.
at home.
Yeah.
And like, and I know you want to do the whole, well, it was the principal and he was a locker room problem. Stop it. You are the Cowboys. You are based off of locker room problems. Your last championship winning team was 6 locker room problems deep. Like, and that was 30 years ago almost.
Well, and
like,
I also
what are we doing?
Like Jerry is, the reports of Jerry trying to negotiate with Micah without Negan, which is a party foul on a lot of levels. Like, I don't like it. I don't like it. I'm not.
It's pretty bad.
Good for Micah for getting out of there.
Well, and by the way, his agent isn't the 2 goofy
so,
knockoff Wish.com mafia bosses that were sitting next to Chris Jones in Arrowhead. His agent is David Moguera, who is like the biggest agent in the sport right now.
He's the biggest, the best.
Next to maybe Drew Rosenhaus. And that's like 1A, 1B. But also, the way that you then treated the agent and the player throughout the whole process before you traded him. And oh, by the way, you traded him to the team who walked into your building in the playoffs and beat your ass.
Yeah. You know what? Let's give him more ammo. Yeah.
There's a lot of lacking.
Yeah, it's very, very questionable trade. Jerry Jones citing he wanted to be the next Herschel Walker trade. Herschel Walker went for a lot more than that. I'll tell you, Herschel Walker went for a lot more
Rodrigo.
than that. Happy to see you. No way. We got a
happy
guy
to see a guy from Brazil checking in. I did see they're set up to arrive in the next few minutes. So good for that.
Yeah, I did see that their plane was getting tracked. Should be landing any second now.
But yeah, the Micah thing is just another long list of why Jerry needs to have a GM that isn't related to him. And
pretty bad when basically every other team has come out and basically been like, or every other fan of every team be like, I would have given 2 firsts and more. I would have given for Micah Parsons, 25 years old.
It's the lack of and it's the lack of additional picks too. 2 ones is fine. Where's the 2nd and the 4th? And Kenny Clark.
Khalil Mack, the comparison was Khalil Mack went for what? He went for a weird trade because they got like a 2nd rounder back and all that stuff. But there's a lot of picks. I mean, there's a lot of just total picks that went for Khalil Mack. This is your 2 picks.
Look at Tyreek Hill's trade.
That's what I was going to bring up. Is you got 5 picks back, even if you. And I get it. You get a somewhat proven player in Kenny Clark, but he's 30 years old and he's had some injury things, and to echo what Kyle said, like, I would rather have more swings, especially when you're talking about a late first-round pick, right?
Yeah.
I think, looking at the Tyreek trade, which at the time, like, I think we were all a little like,
underwhelmed.
And now you look back and go, they got 5 picks for Tyreek.
They rebuilt the whole defense.
And all those picks were bangers too, basically.
Yeah.
They rebuilt the whole defense.
Yeah.
The other factor in this is he's the best player on your defense and probably the best player on your team.
Yeah.
And you just pulled the plug a week before the season.
That's pretty wild.
And your locker room immediately went, wait a minute.
That's crazy.
Why?
You really just traded him?
We wanted him. We would like him here. Why did you ship him out? Now, he got a huge contract. Packers ponied up money they ponied up more than they have. That's a new version of Packers management. They didn't used to pay dudes
new
like
team
that.
president in there. He said, we're making a big swing first year here.
So that's a big thing too. But also what it does to your first year coach that most people think is really just a puppet for you, by most people's breakdown of Mr. Brian Schottenheimer, which it's not fair to Brian Schottenheimer, but also now you've got Brian Schottenheimer out there having to go to the podium and go, it was a unanimous decision. But Brian, I appreciate it, but shite. Are you on board with trading your? I understand that. No, he doesn't, because Jerry does a press conference and 7 radio hits a week. He doesn't have to say anything. He let
but
Jerry
he
do
don't
it.
get asked about it. So I mean, he's not gonna say something that goes against Jerry. So
No, but he could also just say, you'll have to talk to Jerry about that.
well, that'd be kind of saying, that would be saying something. But yeah, just a very, very crazy, crazy scene in the
But my
NFL.
Packers friends are very happy. So
all just to stop the run. They're just trying to stop the run. So might as well trade away your best defensive player to help do that. I've never heard of a better run stuffing strategy than that. So we'll see. We'll see how the Cowboys fare. If they start winning games and are really good this year, then everyone will say he's a genius. But I just don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's
they're going to have to win a lot of games, and they're going to have to win in the playoffs before anybody says Jerry is a genius anytime soon. He's burned a lot of goodwill in Dallas. There's a lot of Nico feeling, and if you're not familiar with the NBA, in the last calendar year, the Dallas sports market has lost its two biggest stars for what most consider packing peanuts, as Garrett mentioned when we started this.
Yeah, losing Micah and Luka.
That's a tough look. And the Stars almost are looking, and the Stars may still trade Jason Robertson, who's another one of their young stars. So they're losing a lot in Dallas, and that fan base as a whole, because it's kind of a circle on the Venn diagram of Mavs fans and Cowboys fans. Not real happy with their GM/ownership groups in Dallas at the moment.
Although if you do think about it, the circle between Cowboys fans and Lakers fans, though, all of a sudden they're like, at least they
also a circle.
That's also a circle. That's also a pretty big circle. So they've kind of won, but kind of lost at the same time. You got to take some, they got to take some L's, but at least they got Luka in that sense. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. That's something that the Chiefs don't have to worry about. There are a lot of crazy hypotheticals of people wanting to trade certain people for Micah for the Chiefs, and yeah, that was never going to be something that the Chiefs were going to probably do. Although for 2 first rounders, and that's the problem. We don't have a run stuffing defensive tackle like that unless you count no. Which
we can get into that right now in just 1 second. The other part of this is 2 first round picks and $47 million a year, which they were never ever going to do.
That is true. So segueing to some defensive players on our side. So the Chiefs 53-man rosters came out a little shortly after we released our last episode of us predicting, and we did get a good amount right. I think we nailed it with Charles Goldman, who was on, and we really hammered out a lot of the obvious ones. There was a very non-obvious one that happened. The Chiefs letting go Mike Pennell. And it was a clean cut. I mean, it was a pretty clean. A lot of people thought maybe he'd be a one of those guys like Robert Tonyan, where you cut him, bring him back on the practice squad, and then bring him back on the active roster after a couple IR movements or whatnot. But this ended up being a clean cut. Mike Pennell goes and signs with Cincinnati's practice squad instead, and Chiefs end up going with Derek Nottie as the answer for their nose tackle situation. A lot of people, I mean, this obviously was a very big, scratch of the head moment from Brett Veach and his whole staff. I think biggest thing, the players aside, really doesn't matter a whole lot. I mean, obviously Mike Pennell, super good dude. He's been a pillar of the defense for the past couple years, a real tone setter in the locker room, and he's still good at his job. Like let's not forget, like he might be on the latter side of 30 and aging, but he's still very good for what he is as a run stuffing defensive tackle, a big man in there to fill the space. So, moving on from him in that sense is like, it's weird. I think more people are probably more questioning just the whole process in general. And I know Kyle's gonna go hard on this one. The whole
I'm gonna let everybody else go first.
Okay, cool. For me, just the whole process, I think, of back in March, the Chiefs basically made a decision to either re-sign Mike Pennell or re-sign Derek Nottie. That was their two options, it seemed like, for a nose tackle, and they went with Mike Pennell. They let Derek Nottie sign with the Jets, and now through this whole system to go through all of spring and summer and training camp and all the preseason games, and at the very last week before the season, you decide to make the swap. That's where I feel like in my head it's a little bit of a head scratcher. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense on why you would waste that whole time of running with Mike Pennell unless you really, really saw something drastically different in his game, which I doubt that there was that much of a deterioration there. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see, and I'll let Tom and Randy get some comments on it as well. But just a little bit of a head scratcher, Tom.
I feel like my thoughts are going to be a little bit disappointing because I'm not too worried. This was what I think stuck with me a little bit. Also, for the record, my dog is very loudly chewing on his nails right now. So if you're hearing like a popping noise in the background, yeah, that's Scout doing some grooming. But my biggest takeaway was, man, Chiefs Kingdom really does love their players. I don't know how many of their families who are out there. I mean, no disrespect at all to Big Mike. Big Mike's a dog, and he does his job, but he is a role player who's 34 years old and has bounced around a lot, right? Like, I'm not like we just talked about Micah Parsons. There's some people who reacted to Mike Pennell leaving like we had just gotten rid of Mike Parsons. Like Mike Parsons pulled a Jerry Jones. And I mean that like in a positive way. Like they have such a love for these guys, and Mike Pennell has been one of those kind of identity guys under the radar. I don't think anybody appreciates Mike Pennell more than Kansas City appreciates Mike Pennell. I mean that from a roster standpoint and from a fan standpoint. That said, whatever the motivations were, I know there's playing time, there's money, especially at that point in his career. Like those are conversations that happen behind closed doors, and it's reading the tea leaves a little bit. It's when you get to that place, like, and I don't even know. I'd have to go and look, and probably ask somebody much smarter in terms of the cap implications of bringing back Derek Nottie versus.
Don't worry, I'll get there.
Keeping Pennell, but for whatever reason, that's the way they went. I'm never mad about having Derek Nottie back. It just sounds like they couldn't work it out with Mike. And I talked about this before. Like sometimes there's that respect thing of like, hey man, you're a vet. Like you may want to go have a chance to get starting reps somewhere versus sitting around on our practice squad. You may feel like you can be a bigger contributor. Like maybe there's that conversation. I don't. There's a lot of pieces there. Kyle was giving me a look, but
staring you down.
All conversations that happen behind closed doors, and it's hard to speculate. But overall, I don't think either one of those players moved the needle so strongly in one way or the other. And I also think it's a position that you sometimes just have to throw bodies at and see what sticks. And Mike's 34 years old. I'll repeat that again. Fun player, great role player, but he is a role player, and these are, I didn't lose any sleep over it, even as a big fan of Mike.
Yeah. Randy, any thoughts on it?
Like Tom, like I don't necessarily know if I have super strong feelings either way. I do know that the temperament of the type of players that I typically gravitate towards for those types of roles. I think I lean a little heavier with Mike Pennell. He's got that edge. He's got that junkyard dog. He's got that I can stand up and go toe to toe with Trent Williams and put him on his ass like type mentality. Mm-hmm. I've never once felt that out of Derek Nottie. Derek Nottie doesn't move the needle for me, which way or the other. He's not a great player. He's not a terrible player. He's just a player. He's a plug, and you're going to get a few snaps out of him here and there, and that might look okay, and you're going to get a few that are like dudes on roller skates or he falls over because he's not super athletic. You tell him. That's what I'm saying. I need that dog. I need the dog.
Deer on the roof.
That's what I need. But I gave the thumbs down when we said Mike Pennell signed with Cincinnati. I think I'm probably more pissed off about that than anything than Mike not on the rosters that now he's a freaking Bengal. But I don't know. It's those guys next to Chris have one job, and that's to eat up 2 blocks so Chris doesn't get double teamed all the time. So are we going to pay that guy a ton of money? No. Like Tom said, you're going to throw a bunch of bodies in there. Absolutely. We do have the 2nd round pick that's supposed to help out in those pass rush situations. So really, we need Derek Nottie to give us 2 solid snaps before you bring in the young kid, and you're gonna have to rotate guys in and out. But like I said, I don't really lean one way or the other. But Nottie's fine. He's not. I've never been a huge Nottie fan, just because he literally doesn't move the needle. But I don't know. That's where I'm at with it.
All right, Kyle, take it away.
Real quick, Tom, who's the better player, Mike Pennell or Derek Nottie? From just watching the last 2 seasons, who's the better player?
Mike Pennell is the better player.
This is a very simple question.
Oh yeah, we'll give the little bit of the edge to Mike.
Of the past, in the past.
Their contracts are identical. The contract that they signed Mike Pennell to is the exact same contract Derek Nottie signed in New York. Okay? As Garrett mentioned, they made that decision in March. And Garrett talked about the process. Look, Brett Beach knows more about football will forget more about football than I know. Period. He's spent 25 years in scouting, player recognition, general manager for almost a decade. Like, all of those things are true. That does not change understanding processes, and this was bad process from the jump. If you're going to make the decision between the 2 guys, and then the guy that you didn't pick goes to another team and goes through the whole training camp, and that other team trades for 2 people at his position to then basically remove him from the roster, and then you trade a pick to bring him back and let go of the guy who is your starter, because Tom said he's going to go someplace else and start. What was he going to do here? Oh, he was going to start, because they don't have anybody else who's as good at him inside on the 1st and 2nd down run stuffing job. They don't. There's a reason Randy mentioned Derek Nottie ending up on skates. Can Derek Nottie line up against Trent Williams and put him on his ass? Not a chance. And I'm not trying to hate on Derek Nottie, but it's just not what he's going to do. It's just not. The process was terrible. And from the money perspective, they're the same contract. They gave him almost the exact same signing bonus. The guaranteed money up front was almost identical. They're $1.39 million and $1.41 million, so essentially the same contract dollar. And you gave up a pick to bring him back. Now, if you were bringing him in for a guy behind Mike Pennell to have the bodies that Tom is mentioning to throw at it, sure. Who's your second body you're throwing at it after Derek Nottie? Oh, the pass rush specialist you crammed 20 pounds on and has had 2 ankle injuries in the last month and a half since you did that. This makes no sense logically. Brett Veach has earned as much free reign and goodwill to make decisions as possible. But this doesn't make sense from a process perspective and how they traditionally do business, which then becomes a question of what was the problem? And if it's not playing time because he was going to be the guy as your run stuffer, unless you have a magical resurgence of the 2nd round pick you decided to try to transform completely, which we can talk about that later. That's a whole nother subject. It doesn't make sense when you need interior pass rush and you go and modify a guy who's an interior pass rusher and try to turn him into a different type. That's separate. That makes no sense. And by the way, if you look at all of what Mike has put out on socials, there's clearly some animosity on his behalf when it comes to how he was treated and handled by the team. And what happens when that happens? Oh, one of your AFC rivals goes, well, our defense sucks and has no one inside that's good at all. We're going to go sign him for peanuts and instantly improve our roster. So not only by doing this, did you potentially make your roster worse? Because, again, we've already acknowledged that over the last couple of seasons, the better player of the two individuals in question is the guy you let go, not the guy you kept. You've now made the Bengals better, and you've made that guy want to beat you when you do see him, because you will see him most likely. So there's just a whole lot of process issues. There's a logic standpoint. There's an asset management issue inside the process, because if that was your decision, as Garrett mentioned, why would you not just keep Noddy and let Mike go to begin with? All of these things. And that's where the reaction from the people that cover the team and talk about this team. I saw a bunch of people, whoa, what are you guys yelling about this stuff for? Why is this a problem for you guys? Well, because it doesn't make any sense. Like, we're not telling you we can evaluate players better than them, but I am telling you I know how their processes work because we've watched it for a damn near decade now, and this isn't that. So all the goodwill and all the stuff Brett Veach has, that you're not going to hear me argue that. You are going to hear me criticize when they do something completely out of character for the way that they handle this roster, their assets, and the roster building process. And that's what happened here. And I wish Mike all the best. I hope he somehow magically ends up back in Kansas City later this year. We're going to find out really quick how important he was against the Chargers, because what do the Chargers do? What are they built on? Running the football.
You like to run the ball. Yeah, ever since Jim Harbaugh got there.
We all watched the Seattle preseason game where they didn't play many of the starters, and they got run all over by everybody on Seattle. That's a problem. That's a problem that Mike Pennell solves. If you go back and watch our 53-man predictions, he wasn't even hardly discussed because it was basically a guarantee that he was on this roster.
I had more confidence he was going to make it than Juju.
Right. And so from that standpoint, and even if you wanted to go, hey, you're a vet, we need to cut you so we can bring you back immediately, cool, no big deal, then have that conversation. But that's not what happened, as Tom mentioned. And trying to bring that guy back to your practice squad when I'm sure he probably has the same feelings about who he was competing with for that spot as we all do, about who's the better player of the two, that's a big issue. They know they can, guys, they look at their stats and look at their numbers and look at their play more than we do. They watch the film on it every chance that they get. That's their job. So if you look at that and you look at the process and the way this went through, that's the issue. I'm not here to tell you that churning the roster is a bad thing, because they churned the roster at linebacker like we asked for, and that's what they did. Cole Christensen is not on this team. Cooper McDonald is. Great. The love affair with an injured Jack Cochran is a separate subject, but we also kind of knew that was happening because of the special teams thing.
Yeah.
But they did roster churn at some spots, and they roster churned at a spot that, hey, they had depth issues at, because when they traded for Derek Noddy, we all went, cool, he's great for a backup, break glass in case of emergency. Now he's the starter. Now what?
Yeah, I think we pretty much nailed it. I think, Kyle makes some good points. Tom makes it as, it's ultimately it's a move that it's a big gamble, proven, hopefully that some young guys step up and make an impact if they can.
Maybe they have some more hope in Jerry Tillery.
Yes, sir, Matty.
Which is a guy that we just literally have not talked about.
Yeah, right. Which not really in that same mold as like a nose tackle, but even still, I mean,
absolutely. But
maybe there's planning on different ways to maybe stop the run, which I haven't seen it, but we might see some different ways to stop the run. Might have to get Nick Bolton involved a little more than he already had.
Leo at nose tackle?
More, What's that, Kyle?
I said, are you playing Leo at nose tackle? Because
he could. You could. He is the strongest guy out there. We'll see. So That obviously a big shocker. We'll see how the ramifications work out for that. If we can't stop the run, then we will. This will be Kyle's Mike Caliendo moment right here. We'll come back. Said we won't have to wait the whole season. It'll be after week 1. Boom, I already have it. So other than that, a couple other roster surprises you might say. Chiefs keep 8 wide receivers on the initial 53 man. That was a neat one. Obviously, with Rashee Rice going to the suspended list almost immediately.
They knew
with the 6-game suspension that he's going to serve for that all that stuff.
That's why you saw 8. They knew that.
So obviously keeping 7 plus a couple other injuries and whatnot in the wide receiver room. A couple guys banged up. I know Jalen Royals is not going to travel with the team to Brazil, or he didn't travel with the team. Sorry there. He didn't travel with the team. He's injured. Hollywood Brown, he seems to be like he'll be good to go, but he was still kind of a questionable one throughout the past 2 weeks. So keeping 8 wide receivers, you have Tyquan Thornton, who guy we all knew was probably going to make the roster, and then Randy's sleeper, Jason Brownlee, also making the roster. That was a big moment for him. So yeah, ultimately, I mean, there's going to be a lot of bodies there for a little while until Rashee returns, and then we'll see how it all turns out. But as we know from last year, you can never have too many wide receivers because they can start dropping like flies pretty quick, and you need some more bodies. So yeah, that was a moment. Anyone comment on the wide receiver room?
I mean, they knew the Rashee thing, and they also had more information on Jalen Royals' knee. We had a little bit of conflicting reporter reports on Royals. Looks like Nate Taylor came out with the correct piece there. Of ESPN, by the way, and now at KCSN, of course. But they knew they were going to be without Rashee, it sounds like, basically to start the year when everybody else was still going off of the September 30th report that came out. And then they knew that knee of Jalen Royals is not ready to go on a 12-hour flight to Brazil and play week 1, it sounds like.
Yeah,
so that's kind of the wide receiver room. Yeah. So that leaves your wide receivers for Brazil being Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, Juju, Tyquan, Brownlee, and
Nico,
who we really haven't talked about, but we knew he was on the roster because he's there starting.
Great feature on the franchise too. Great Nico Armijo feature on the franchise, which is back, which is awesome that the franchise is back. The best behind the scenes team produced, films that in the whole NFL. So that's good to see. I'll turn through a couple other just quick 53-man things so we can get into the game, because that's what everyone here. We're here for the game. We're trying to hear for the game. So obviously Robert Tonyan gets cut, comes back on the practice squad. He gets then re-signed after like a day to the active roster, so he's on it. In the O-line room, very surprising. There's a couple cuts. C.J. Hansen didn't make it. A couple other notable guys. Essa Pohl being the most notable guy that on our last episode we made mention of, a guy who could really sneak in there and make the 53-man as an undrafted free agent. He unfortunately gets cut and then gets signed to the Jets. Yeah, he gets signed to the Jets organization. He gets claimed on waivers, which that was
after. They didn't notify him until after the waiver wire was
wire closed, and then he's like, "All right, cool, I'm good to re-sign with the Chiefs practice squad." Psych. So that was a bummer. That was definitely a bummer. Essa Pohl, very talented undrafted free agent tackle that would have been a good developmental guy. There's definitely a conversation of keeping him over Wanya Morris. Obviously, the Chiefs going with their former 3rd-round pick instead in that category, but that was definitely tough to lose Essa Pohl to the waiver wire like that. Same thing that happened with Keandre Coburn a couple years ago. Chiefs drafted him in the 6th round or something, and they try waiving him to get him to the practice squad. He ends up getting claimed, and then he never plays it down for us. So that kind of
he's
stuff.
Also been cut, I think, from his other team that he got claimed by. So there's that.
Yeah,
it's a kid I liked him. I liked him coming out of Texas. I thought he had some talent. But
the Essa thing, like I think we pretty much said that if he gets cut, there's a good chance he doesn't make it through waivers.
And he didn't.
And here again, we just talked about the Pennell Noddy process thing. Well, you traded the Jets a pick, and then they took 2 of your players off waivers.
Yeah. Yeah, and Cam Jones as well, which, Cam Jones, he is a good special teamer for us, but that's not as – we have a lot good.
But
special team
again,
linebackers.
that's a team that has a history of taking your players, and you know that they're looking at your roster clearly, and that's a good deal by the Jets because we talked about it. Essa has a high ceiling.
Yeah.
His floor may not be very high right now, but his ceiling is extremely high because of his lack of time even playing organized football, the development he showed just in camp and preseason alone. Like, there's a lot to that. So I was a little disappointed because you mentioned Wanye. There's also another offensive lineman that's on this roster that I don't know what he gives you, even if he ends up in the game. He's your fourth guard at this point because I feel like if you lose either guard, it's Jalen Moore's up. Mr. Moore is your
Mr. Moore.
fill in your spot at
Yeah.
offensive line other than center. He's the next guy that's going into whatever position they lose first. So at that point, then you're looking at your fourth guard instead of your third guard and keeping a guy who saying that he struggled in the Super Bowl is putting it nicely.
Yeah.
In Mike Caliendo, who maybe he takes a jump, but
Still in like year 3.
I would have
maybe
to
year
see
4. Yeah, but
that's great.
yeah,
He got absolutely mauled
he didn't have a good showing
in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's one of those. Hopefully, we don't have to see him break last case of emergency things. And also, we should recognize we're acknowledging all these guys if they're going to be like major contributors to the Chiefs this season. We realize we're nitpicking.
I hope
at
not.
little things. We realize we're nitpicking at little things and whatnot. But these things matter when you're a championship roster and you have really good depth, and you have to, especially we saw last year how important depth is and having the right pieces in the right spots. So.
And there's a finite number of roster spots.
Yeah, and they can sometimes kick in the butt. So outside of that, any other big surprises? I don't think so. Najee Johnson went to the IR, so he technically made the team. Josh Williams still made the team.
That might have been the biggest, not a surprise because the Chiefs tend to be loyal, especially to those younger guys. But yeah, that one was just based on the play time and a lot of the other stuff. Yeah.
Great. Yep. Good job, Kyle.
Yeah, I think the only other one that kind of surprised me was Elijah Mitchell. With that, with Carson Steele being a little bit, I think, more versatile, a little younger, probably a little cheaper. We really didn't see Elijah Mitchell much at all in the preseason. I think that was really the only one that still kind of stuck out as a surprise, I guess, to me.
Yeah, that's a notable one that you could say. And Josh Williams, he still might be a guy that ends up getting moved later on in the season. I know they kind of did that with Rashad Fenton a couple years ago. That's kind of a similar thing. They held on to him for a little bit and moved on from him. But
people are always looking, especially somebody who's got starting experience like Josh has. So that's a good point.
Yeah, exactly. There's always going to be some kind of availability, either him or you can get Wanye eventually somewhere. Who knows? There's just a whole lot. But other than that, Chiefs roster, it made sense. It seems like it made a lot of sense. So,
yep.
Okay, I think we can transition to the game, right? I think we can transition to the game. But before we transition to the game, Kyle, do you want to say a message from our friends?
I don't know why it decided. Some of you have already probably seen it. I don't know why that decided to go as a comment in the YouTube section, but hey, the stream system we're using is a little weird sometimes, so it's doing some different things. We'll get those worked out. With that said, guys, Underdog's available, and they've got a ton of promos running. Kickoff is obviously the first game of the year is on Thursday. The next game is on Friday. Hop on if you haven't already. Grab yourself an Underdog account, sign up, use our code, and they have a bunch of different promotions. I think the one they've got probably right now is probably
one right now. Actually, Kyle, I'll let you know. It's new customers. You get if you use our code kingdomsays, if you play $5, you get $50 in bonus funds. So that's a pretty good. That's pretty good.
Sign up again?
Is that what?
You put $5 and they give you $50. Can I sign up again?
$50, yeah, and bonus funds that you can use. And they're even offering a site-wide Saquon Barkley gimme pick right now as well for the first game of the year. So you should definitely.
They will also have a gimme pick for Friday's game if you want to save it for the Chiefs. They will have a gimme pick on Friday too.
Yeah, yes. I was looking. They do some other. I don't know. I was looking. I went and got back into it because obviously, if you've been hanging out with us, you know that they reached out to us middle last year, a little towards the end there, and we're very thankful for that. But yeah, I was playing around in the app the other day and very excited about some of the stuff they're rolling out. And I've shared with you guys, I'm not. It's kind of a new thing for me. So the world of viewing sports and football
this
way, picks, yeah, pick them. That's a new world for me. So if you're like, that's not my thing. Just give it a try. And $5, and you get $50 worth of. That's come on. What are you waiting for?
Yeah.
What are you waiting?
And so, if you go on there, they have the pick section where you can do higher, lower on about 1,000 different stat options for different players throughout the game. They have offense and defense. You can combine all those. They also have some fantasy type like draft lineup stuff.
They got a lot of fancy underdogs, really good fancy stuff. Yeah,
where you can draft like a roster for the game, or you can draft rosters for like the whole weekend or the whole week, and do kind of that, and you can have a new fantasy team every week. And so with that bonus money that they're giving you for just using $5 on the first game, we play Friday and you're going to watch all day Sunday anyway. So put together a little bit of stuff, use code KingdomSays, get your bonus, and enjoy some underdog fantasy sports along with your football or, baseball or esports,
hockey,
or hockey's starting up here. Preseason starts in September.
Basketball,
late September, so
not
the NBA regular season is tough because they play once every 3 games.
They're circumnavigating cap over there and all that fun stuff. So allegedly. So
yeah.
Okay, let's get into the game. Obviously, Chargers, very familiar foe. Jim Harbaugh led in their second year under Jim Harbaugh now. He had a pretty good turnaround the first year. I mean, they didn't make the playoffs, did they? I mean, did they make the playoffs? I forget if they made the playoffs.
They made it.
Yeah, and then
it was horrific.
Right,
and blew it.
Yeah,
that was the game. Justin Herbert didn't know what color the other team was wearing because he just kept throwing them the ball like he was on their team. It was tough. That was not great. But the
Texans, I remember now.
It was better than Brandon Staley for Mr. Harbaugh, so it was better. He's got that going.
Low bar to clear.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah, obviously there's still a lot of the same guys over there. They have a couple notable losses. Obviously, they lost Rashawn Slater, their left tackle for the year. They signed him to a big deal, and then they lose him like a couple days after to a season-ending injury.
Brutal.
That sucks. That just absolutely sucks. Like, just.
I hate to see we hate to see that stuff. You want to play him at their full bore. Yeah. He's a huge piece of that offensive line. That was a not nice injury. He was all by himself. He went to plant, and the knee just gave out, and now he's done for the year. And so that puts them in a bit of a tough spot, and we hope he has a quick and full and speedy recovery. But it sucks to see, but it's the nature of the beast. Yeah. I'm glad he got paid before that happened.
That is true. Yeah, but that's obviously a big loss for them. They have to slide Joe Alt over to left tackle, have Trey Pipkins at right tackle. So their offensive line is going to be a little bit on the weaker side. They've got, they added Mekhi Becton this offseason as well on that offensive line, who outside of his 1 year at Philly has not been a good guard. He was good at Philly. We'll see if he continues to be like that. I know he's already had a little. I feel like I've already been hearing some things about him in LA.
Hey,
so we'll see.
Who's their new right tackle?
Their right tackle is Trey Pipkins. Trey Pipkins?
Hey Trey, meet Chris Jones.
Yeah,
you're gonna get the work. Yeah, Trey.
Trey knows Chris Jones. Trey's been
out of the University of Sioux Falls.
Ooh, okay, there you go, Randy.
So
he's been there for a little while. Obviously,
that's not a fun matchup.
Not a guy that they've wanted to rely on in that position. He's kind of more like their swing backup tackle this year, so that's going to be a big task for their offensive line as a whole. They still got Zion Johnson there, Bradley Bozeman. So I mean, their offensive line, it's always a big thing with protecting Justin Herbert and making sure that he's comfortable, because if you disrupt Justin Herbert and get him uncomfortable, he will start making some mistakes. So that's going to be a big matchup to watch.
I think the run game, it's even more important. That as much as they want to do with the running game,
the run game is big, and they've made
having two consistent starting tackles that can push the pile, can drive guys off the line of scrimmage, can make it tough for defensive ends to set an edge. When you lose a guy like Rashawn Slater, who's one of the best tackles in football, it's gonna hurt you. And as much as protecting Herbert's going to be more of a challenge, them establishing their run game, because you've got pieces on that offensive line now and things like that, it's gonna be more difficult to alleviate some of the stressors that are on Justin Herbert, because a lot of the things that they do with the run game are to take pressure off of Justin Herbert. He's going to have a significant role in upping his play as well. And they don't have a ton in the wide receiver room outside of the guy named Ladd McConkey.
Yeah, he's kind of their ace. He's kind of their ace in the receiving room.
He's coming off an injury.
Right. Run game, though, has kind of been their specialty.
Player.
You said what, Randy?
And he's a second-year player.
True. I mean, he had a pretty dominant first year, but still, he's just he's basically their only weapon there. Randy, I'm curious about your thoughts on the trenches matchup that we have here with the Chiefs D-line going against that Chargers, the pass game, but also the run game. The Chargers adding Najee Harris and Omarion Hampton this year to that backfield. So that's obviously a big, a good running back duo on paper to have back there. Also kind of curious about how the field will come into play. Obviously, it's something that doesn't really get talked about a lot, but we're going down to a soccer stadium down there in Brazil. Usually the field is a lot different and those type of things than what traditional NFL fields we're used to. I know
different is the word we're using?
Different, yeah. They're meant to handle, 150 pound players instead of 200 to 300 pound football players. So obviously that's always a big kind of thing whenever you go to those international soccer stadiums like that, Randy.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this game literally will, I believe, come down to the trenches, because everyone knows Harbaugh and his affinity to love to run the football. I am, however, intrigued to see how they're going to use Najee coming in with his weird little accident that he had, and the rookie Hampton. So
he's a pirate.
Their offensive line is banged up. I don't think it's where they want it to be. And then we also, we talked about it a little bit earlier too, about how, well, for lack of a better term, piss poor our run defense was against the Seahawks. I mean, granted, yes, not all of our starters playing. I understand that, but playing the run, running the football and playing run defense is about it's a mentality. It's about your attitude. I mean, you got to stick your nose in there. You got to do the dirty things, and you got to make sure that you don't gain an inch or give an inch. So, I have a feeling that in the long run, I think we'll be able to potentially wear them down. With the amount of bodies that we're probably going to roll through with the defensive line versus their lack of depth and injuries right now on the offensive line. But then, I mean, you throw the caveat there of the field and how is that going to hold up with the stampede of NFL players running through there, and hopefully that's not an issue, because you don't ever want to have those types of situations or those reasons or excuses for whatever might happen. But offensively as well, we're kind of known for not giving a whole lot to start the season, being pretty vanilla and not getting too crazy with it. So I mean, we really could see an offense to where, Pacheco and Kareem, they each get anywhere from, 10 to 15 carries apiece, and kind of the same thing on the other side. I personally, I love that kind of football, being an offensive line coach and former running back coach as well. So that's my wheelhouse. That's what I love to see. But I don't know. It's going to be a smash mouth football, which is going to be fun. But then everybody, kind of keeps hearing Pat, say, we're going to air it out. We're going to be more explosive. And, part of me as just a football fan, and I would love to kind of see us get back to that realm of things as well. So
please get us back to that.
I'm really excited to see what's going to happen. But like I said, earlier in the show, I'm going to have to definitely wait till my game's done to go home and watch it after that. So
yeah,
I'm terrified of the field. I'm not terrified of the Chargers. I'm not terrified of the teams. I'm terrified of this field. Every single year we watch a game in the Brazil field specifically has been a massive problem for teams that go down there. Somebody tears something or blows something up because they try to plant their foot, and the whole field there you leave a divot like somebody hit a golf club 3 feet behind the ball into the ground, and it just gives out and it's destroyed. I really hope they didn't have a concert on that grass 5 days before it like they did a couple years ago. I hope
Mexico?
Mexico. We were supposed to be in Mexico. That was the 2018 Rams game, right?
Yeah. I really hope they've figured out the international fields, because they've got them pretty solid over in Germany and in London, and I think it's due to a little bit of the climate conditions, and they've had a little more practice at doing that with the field. But there has been some major issues with field conditions in South America when they're playing these Central and South America when they're playing these games. And I really, really hope this isn't a problem for either team this week one, because it would be a real crappy way to start a season for either team to have a massive injury occur because the field conditions are slop. So that's my biggest concern about this entire game, is getting everyone out of there healthy. And that's the thing that I'm most worried about in the whole aspect. When Garrett brought that up, it was like, oh God, please don't.
It's pretty notable. And luckily, it seemed like I was just reading a report from last year's game. It wasn't any major injuries, but there was a lot of slipping everywhere. And when they're slipping like that, I mean, it's never good. So,
it takes once. It takes one unexpected slip, because these guys are extremely powerful. They're trying to accelerate at ridiculous speeds that already put tons of strain on tendons and ligaments and muscles in legs and knees. And if that field gives out and they're not expecting it, and you end up, thinking you have traction and you slide and your foot slides and then you adjust and then it catches and it plants, that's how you tear stuff. That's how stuff pops. So I really hope they've got that under control.
Yeah. Tom, besides the field, what's your biggest worry for the Chargers offense and the Chiefs defense? Or what you're looking forward to most? I mean,
Justin Herbert can definitely take over a game. Like, when he's on, and we've seen that before. And he does tend to play pretty well against the Chiefs. I don't want to say I'm worried about the run game, but similar to what Kyle was just saying, I think that the depth of our defensive line is probably going to be tested a little bit, and we've got a lot of guys up there, and so I think it's really easy for there to be the potential for some of those what should be smaller runs much larger than they are, because we don't know the run fits, we don't know the assignments as well. That just kind of comes with having some younger players in there. So that's probably my biggest thing, is if we can't let them have those explosive running plays. that's going to set the tide a certain way. So that's at the top of my mind. I'm not. The Chargers are a team. It feels like you don't have to worry about them until you have to worry about them, if that makes sense. And a lot of times they're really good at picking themselves.
That's the Charger way, yeah.
Compared to what they've had in there before, but even then, I still feel like they're don't have the best luck as a team. So as a franchise, so sometimes, it's hard to worry about them. But I think conditioning, depth on the D line is probably the area that I'll be keeping an eye on.
We were 15-3 against them in our last 18 matchups. So
that's pretty good.
That's a decent record.
That's pretty good record. I mean, that's usually how it goes versus most AFC West teams. I feel like it's just the Chiefs have always had a pretty strong grasp on it. But yeah, overall, I mean, the Chargers offense, they're good. They're good in spurts. It kind of depends on what time of year you get them at. I'm not super worried about what they'll be like week one. Obviously, the first game of the season, infamously, like Isaiah likely said it last season, the Ravens, when they played us, they're like, well, this is the worst we're going to be. It's like, well, it's the worst that everyone's going to be. So, I mean, I get it. But also it's usually there's some teams that always just kind of start off a little bit slower. And there's some teams like the Chiefs that usually start off pretty strong. So if that's one thing that kind of is of benefit, I feel like that's, something you can bank on, that especially Spags getting those boys ready for a very familiar Chargers team, even though they're a little bit different offensively with Jim Harbaugh and whatnot there. But it's still, you get it. It's the Chargers. They can only win a certain couple ways. Justin Herbert really has to put the team on his back usually if they're going to. I mean, it's going to live and die by Justin Herbert and how he does. So that's always something to see. On the defensive side for the Chargers, going against this Chiefs offense, we kind of hinted at a little bit, but not a whole lot of new unfamiliar names on the Chargers defense either. You still have Khalil Mack. You still have Tuli Polutu. I nailed that. I think I nailed that pronunciation, not going to lie. Tuli Polotu, the brother of Marlon Tui Polotu. Yep. The brother of Marlon, who was on the Chiefs. I don't know if they re-signed him to the practice squad or not, but he's a good young player. They got a couple other good young guys there, like Dayon Henley, and obviously Derwin James is still there. Ultimately, though, nothing that I'm super worried about. I mean, it's always more so of what the Chiefs are going to look like on offense and how they're going to execute and what game plan they're going to execute. And, Randy mentioned earlier, if they're not going to be super exotic maybe coming out week one, especially with the field conditions and the flights and just how tired my guys might be and all the different things. It sets you up to that you can really just kind of go out there and get a win any way possible and get the dub. But there has still been a very big emphasis on what the Chiefs want to do this offseason of airing the ball out and pushing the ball down the field more and all these things and having a much more explosive offense. So we'll see. We'll see how much of that will get implemented. Kyle, I don't know your thoughts on how you think this offense is going to fare coming out week one like this and a very different Brazil field, a lot of travel, all the different stuff.
So one thing I'm watching is Jawan Taylor's knee, because there's been talk about he may have to have it drained once they get there. He said that. That's a field condition thing again, where it's like, I don't want to see him go down if we can avoid it. But the Chargers secondary doesn't exactly instill fear outside of Derwin James.
I was literally just combing through their secondary, and I'm like,
not a lot of
yeah.
I mean, your boy Cam Hart. I like Cam Hart, but other than that, like corner-wise, Dante Jackson,
Tariq Steele and Dante Jackson are their starters at corner.
Benjamin St. Juste, who's up and down. I mean, Tariq Steele, I don't even know who that is. So,
and Alohi Gilman is their other safety outside of Derwin. I think Alohi, but yes, sort of. There's. I know they're not going to have Jalen, and I know Rasheed is out, and Rasheed is who was absolutely destroying that Chargers secondary in week 3 before he got hurt. He was going to be the guy, obviously, last year before that unfortunate interception and then accidental knee destruction by his quarterback, who we all said, please just stop trying to make tackles. Don't do that. That'd be great. You're worth way too much money to worry about tackling a guy on an interception in week 3. Please don't do that.
He's still going to stop, though. I mean, he ain't going to stop.
No, he's not, because he's not built that way. He's way too much of a competitor. The other part is, I mean, okay, their edge group is Khalil Mack, and I know we talked about Tuli Tuipulotu, but Bud Dupree, Caleb Murphy, and Kyle Kennard. Yeah, and then their starting interior is Tier Tart and Deshaun Hand, and I couldn't tell you who the other two guys.
You got that name? I feel like Kyle. You don't got that name?
Otito.
Otito, yeah. Otito Ogbania.
I believe that's correct. Yes, but then also, that it's not really a terrifying pass rush now. Like Joey Bosa's not there anymore, and Khalil Mack is still good, but not Khalil Mack from 5 years ago or 6 years ago, or any of those things. They've got a matchup here where they could look to attack. I heard the 15 carries, and maybe they run the ball 20 or 25 times, or maybe they run it 12 times and do a whole lot of things with the short passing game that makes this Chargers defense tackle in space, and also attacks with the screen game a little more. I do think the screen game is going to be a much more used item this year for this offense with the athleticism of this offensive line as it's set up. But their secondary doesn't scare me at all. Derwin James is it, and Derwin's not a spring chicken anymore. Derwin's older. He's still great, still a great player, but he can only cover either a section of a quarter of the field or one guy, and usually that guy is Travis Kelce with Derwin. So that's going to open up some room to where you got to Alohi Gilman's going to have to play. Oh, is Xavier Worthy going deep? Is Tyquan Thornton going deep? Are they both going deep? What's going on? Where
everyone going deep?
Because their cornerback room, I don't know, is going to be able to match up with the weapon array that they've assembled this year, which is something we haven't been able to say when looking at a Chiefs wide receiver room in 2 full seasons prior to this. This isn't the MVS Sky Moore Kadarius Toney starting trio that it was last year, or
that's found over in San Francisco now. minus Kadarius Toney, but everyone else basically, and B-Rob and Marcus Kemp, they probably have him on the practice squad.
So and the other part is they have 4 tight ends, and they have 4 fully usable tight ends in any section of the passing game, because they've got Bob Tonyan and Noah Gray and Jared Wiley to go along with Travis Kelce. And if they really want to force this Chargers defense into, look at their linebackers, Denzel Perryman and Deion Henley, and then Troy Dye and Junior Colson. If you go multiple tight end sets, somebody's got to cover Travis and somebody's got to cover Tonyan or Noah. And then what? Because now you're one-on-one on the outside with Tyquan and Xavier and Juju. They have set this up to where if your secondary isn't a coverage dominant secondary, you may be in for a long day.
Yeah, I think it's a easy way you can get an advantage is exploiting the middle of the field there with some of the tight ends. Obviously, we like our multiple tight end sets over here in Kansas City, and we have a plethora of tight ends to use. So yeah, that's gonna be a big thing. Randy, how do you feel about the Chiefs' offensive line going into this one? Especially, it'd be interesting to see Jawan Taylor's knee, like Kyle mentioned. That is kind of a interesting thing. He was very questioning of how it would handle it when he had to fly over, and he'd probably have to get a injection or whatever you call the opposite of an injection, a drainage.
Drain.
So we'll see. Hopefully he'll be good. Otherwise, obviously you still have Jalen Moore who can step in case of emergency and you need him now.
True. I'm excited because there's a whole lot of unknown. Um, the left side is so young but super talented. Like Simmons looks like the real deal. And we were all super high on Kingsley last year. Tom and I probably a little higher than you other two, but um, the kid is talented. Did it work out at tackle? I think we still gave up a little bit too early on that, but his skill set and his athletic ability to slide him in at guard and to be able to have those two types of athletic specimens on the left side of your line is an exciting option, and Creed is still coming back at the absolute pinnacle of his game. We have the highest paid guard in the National Football League in the road grader Trey. And then, the right tackle is still kind of up in the air. So there's a lot of unknowns with the offensive line. I do, however, think that this is by far the most physically talented first five that we've had in
Mitch and Eric.
Yeah, I mean a decade. So it's an exciting time. There's, like I said, a lot of unknown, but the upside is huge. So I mean, are there going to be a few moments where we're going to have to kind of have some patience with the learning curve? Absolutely. But going through the Chargers defense and just kind of going through the roster that we just talked about, like this defense does not strike fear in me in any level of their defense.
Yeah.
I mean, Khalil Mack, yeah, he is a savvy vet. He has been a beast in this league for a very long time. Are they going to line him up against the rookie and the second-year guy and move him around a little bit? Absolutely. They're going to try to play those games to confuse those young kids over on the other side. But I just don't think there's enough bullets in the chamber for the Chargers to really be overly effective in the pass rush. And I think their secondary is worse now after looking over their roster than I originally thought it was. So
yeah, it's gonna be
great.
So Tom, how do you think? Are we running the ball? Are we passing the ball on them? How do you think this goes?
Oh, I think we're going to throw it all over the yard, and I think that's what Pat wants. I think that's what this. I think, and I sent this to you guys actually while we were recording. Pat's statement that he made. I'm going to read
Kay Adams interview.
Yeah. I feel like I've had to sit back and just listen to people talk, and I'm like, let's just play football and just handle it all out there. Which that's about as aggressive of a quote as you're going to get from Patrick Mahomes, because he, lived under the tutelage of not just Andy Reid but also Alex Smith, who's, those guys know how to say a lot without saying a lot. And if I were an NFL defensive, that statement would keep me up at night. I think that's going to be the mentality for most of the year with Pat. I think that would have been the plan, even if the concerns with the Chargers secondary weren't what they were. But yeah, I'm sad. I mean, obviously, we knew Rasheed was a big one, but man, I was hoping we'd see a lot of Jalen Royals in this game, but obviously, the injury stuff is there. But yeah, I expect a pretty healthy game from the passing offense. And when you throw the ball, you can run the ball. When you run the ball, you can pass the ball. I mean, it all feeds off each other. But I think that they're going to come out swinging.
Yeah, that's the hope. I think that's the hope. I think that's the ultimate goal. I mean, first game of the season, the spotlight's on you on Friday night. Big YouTube hosted game. Everyone can watch it, free for everybody. You got to make an impression. I mean, there is I don't know if the locker room feels that way, but it just feels like, you come out here, you make an impression, you make a statement on the season, you say, hey, this is how we're going to be this year, and we're going to be an explosive firing offense, and that's even with the field and the conditions. I think they can get it done. I'm pretty optimistic that we're going to see some very outside the box play calling, maybe get back to some of that fun 2018 type of stuff that we are all just so eager to get back, hopefully, as one day.
I'm glad Tom brought up that quote because I've been thinking about that quote a lot over the last couple of days. The noise continues to get louder from everybody on the outside, and it was already a cacophony of noise after the Super Bowl. It's been this way the entire offseason. But as we've gotten closer, the more and more outlandish things have become from that standpoint. And we know he hears and sees all of this stuff. I'm fairly certain Bobby just has this stuff cut up into clips and plays it on a loop in the training facility for him over and over and over and over again. The conversation and the discussion about the drop off is setting up. And if you go, and again, it's a stupid list, and the players have acknowledged it's a stupid list. But the NFL Top 100 list came out, and he was fifth, and he was the third best quarterback according to that list. And a running back and a wide receiver were ahead of him on that list. And that's going to irritate him. I expect to see finger counting again.
Yeah.
Look, he's made it clear they intend to attack this year. The last couple of years, it's felt like he was managing what he had and kind of making it work on the offensive side of the football. And he's looking around at this offensive line group and at this wide receiver room and going, we're better than we were last year or the year prior. And those 2 years, we went to the Super Bowl and won one and lost one. And we're probably better than we were in 22 when we also went to the Super Bowl and won that one. So for him, you talked about making a statement. We talked about Underdog a little bit earlier. There's some other websites that are out there. None of them are sponsor of the show, so we won't throw out too much prompts for them. But there's some futures that include Patrick Mahomes MVP that you might look at. There's some futures about this team and the Super Bowl that you might look at because a certain AFC West or AFC rival coach decided to come out and hang up some more bulletin board material in his recent press conference, staring at you, Captain I Like Terrorists, in Sean McDermott. I'm never forgetting that quote.
Yeah, I mean, that was good. That was a pretty memorable quote from him. Yeah, you're right.
It'll never happen again in regards to a team going to 4 straight Super Bowls and trying to defend his franchise from losing those 4 straight Super Bowls. Well, there's a team this season that has a chance to go to their 4th straight Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So, there's been a lot of talk about this being Kelsey's last ride, even though he hasn't said that. Everybody else seems to want to say that for him. Amongst other things, look, they can say they've moved on and they've processed through and they're done with the Super Bowl from last year. That still pisses them off. They're still not happy about how that game ended and the last time everybody saw them play. I look for this offense especially to come out looking like it's week 8 or week 10 in week 1 and 2 and 3. They're going to come out hair on fire. Now, are Khalil Mack and Tuilapulo 2 probably going to run? I saw they're probably going to put them together on the same side, and they're probably going to run some stunt stuff against Simmons and Suamataia to test that handoff, that communication, the leveling, because on those you kind of want to stay even. You don't want to be split to where there's gaps and create stuff. They're going to test them. They will. But this offense is set up and ready for him to go hair on fire. I'm still that guy. I'm here, to quote him against Max Crosby a couple years ago. And I would be very surprised if they don't come out ready to tear apart defenses. And the Chargers, like Randy said, and we talked about, this defense isn't scary. It just isn't. If they come out and play their game and their style, and he's on point with his accuracy like he has been in all of camp and all of what we've seen in the preseason from him, it could be a long night in Brazil. And I hope YouTube has their stuff figured out so that it doesn't crash like it did when, the New Heights pod dropped and the whole internet, and it broke the whole internet for a while because their whole site went psychopathic and deleted like part of the stream and whatnot. Hopefully they've got those. There was a nice test run for their servers and their processes to kind of see what the load capacity it can handle, and they've got it tuned up, because this is going to be a ton of eyeballs from all over the world, because everybody, anyone, anywhere has YouTube access. If you have internet access and a device, you can find your way to YouTube in just about any country. So I'm ready.
Just come out and just uncork one deep first play. I would love to see Pat just go scorched earth on these guys. That
would be pretty entertaining. List off a couple betting prop lines as we close out this wonderful episode before we get to some score predictions. Let's throw out a couple props that are some of the lines that are out there. This is courtesy of FanDuel. Patrick Mahomes' over under passing yards is 240. Justin Herbert's is 231. So they're pretty close in that respect. Travis Kelce has a 46.5 yard over under for receiving. Xavier Worthy has 59.5.
Did you say 46.5?
46.5 for Travis. Yeah. So that's, based off of Travis' last season, there's like a 50-50 shot of him hitting that, but I would expect him to come out pretty fiery. The one that Xavier Worthy at 59.5 is also pretty good. That's like one
throw deep.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be pretty interesting. Juju Smith-Schuster only 19.5 for the over/under. I feel like Juju's going to get more than 20 yards. I'm just saying. I feel like he's going to get more than 20 yards in that respect.
He's going to get a ton of snaps.
Yeah, Ladd McConkey's at 71.5. He's like basically their only. Keenan Allen has 37.5 over/under. How does Keenan Allen have that much of a over?
Because Keenan Allen has traumatized us, even if he is ancient and has half a hamstring.
Rushing props: Isaiah Pacheco 47.5 over/under. Amarion Hampton 46.5 only. Kareem Hunt 18.5. I feel like Kareem's going to get more than 18.5 yards. I'm just saying. Najee Harris only 24.5. So they're not the sports books are anticipating a big rushing game. Seems like they're definitely anticipating big explosive touchdowns.
Those yardage totals for those running backs is like less than 60 combined between each of the top two backs on both teams.
Exactly, yeah. So if you're anticipating any kind of a running attack, definitely look into those. Xavier Worthy is plus 120 to score a touchdown. He has the lowest odds of this game. Amarion Hampton's 150, Travis 155. So yeah, it's it seems pretty set. The over under for the whole game. Let me take a look. Over under 46.5 total points. The Chiefs are -3 on the spread, but they minus 168.
This is supposed to be some defensive struggle for both teams.
46.5 is not a lot of points, you would think. It's pretty slim.
They're looking at like 24-21 is what they seem to be like in that ballpark. That seems
that kind of almost lines up with some of those, we faced the Chargers in Mexico City a couple years ago.
We look back at, I just pulled up, the last few games. It's 19-17, 17-10, 13-12. We have to go back to 2023 for a 31-17 victory.
Yes, the offenses look a little different than they have the last couple of years, is what I would say. Yep. The defenses look a little different also on both sides. Look, Ladd McConkey and Trent McDuffie are going to spend a lot of time looking at one another face to face. A lot. With Christian Fulton back in the fold, Watson definitely going to be starting. Anytime that there's three corners on the field, wherever Ladd goes, I assume Trent will go with.
Right, just keep Trent with him. Yeah.
Trent is going to. You remember when L'Jarius was in his contract year and all of a sudden he started traveling with whoever the best player on the field was for the other team as far as the wide receiver was concerned?
Yeah, might see that.
I have a feeling that's where we're headed here. And they like to line Lad up in the slot a lot. So I anticipate, and that actually is beneficial for the Chiefs if they put Trent on that kind of role, because that puts him in the position he's the most dangerous from. It gives him the ability to blitz. It gives him the ability to cover. He tackles really well in the run game. Like, that's a matchup that the Chargers absolutely have to win if you're Lad McConkey and Justin Herbert. And that's a tall order against Trent McDuffie. Ask Jamar Chase how much fun that is. Not a lot. So yeah, I'm the Travis Kelce yardage line. It melted my brain for a second. I would have he's never really had yardage issues against the Chargers. Even last year, he had decent yardage against them in every.
Yeah, usually he has the most. Actually, usually he has like some of his season highs versus the Chargers.
That's
so.
You go take that $5 you get. You take your $5. You take the
$50 in bonus funds.
From Underdog. You take that $55. You put it on Travis Kelce. We're good.
You go ahead and have yourself a good Sunday, or a good Friday, I should say. Actually,
Friday.
Yeah, Friday.
Well, chat. If you have score predictions, there's 200 of you in here with us right now. We appreciate you guys all hanging out. I know it's been a little bit of a long one. We kind of expected it because this is our only one for
my beard.
I saw that. It's our only one for the week because of the way the game is, where the game is being played, the date and the day of the week. So we didn't really want to try to cram 2 episodes into a week where the game's on Friday. So chat, if you have score predictions, drop them in the comments, reply, whatever you want to do to the tweet. If you're on on Twitter and it won't let you comment for whatever reason, drop them there. Garrett, you want to start us off on score predictions?
Yeah, you know what? I'll go ahead and start us off. We'll give score predictions. We'll give kind of the overarching, just one final closing point of the game. I think we can mention the biggest thing we're looking out for. So yeah, for me, I'm gonna go on the pretty generous side. I'm thinking of 31-14 Chiefs. As you know, it's about 4 touchdowns and a field goal. Holds the Chargers to 2 touchdowns.
And the under.
Is that the under? Yeah, I think that still would qualify the unders.
45.
Because the Chargers are just going to suck that much, and they're not going to score enough. My biggest player I'm looking for, my guy, number 1, Xavier Worthy. I think there's a very good chance that he has over 100 yards and maybe even more. I'm going to be really looking out for the explosiveness, the creativity that they use him with. You know, obviously, last year's season kickoff, they started with a bang. His first NFL touch being that little, reverse sweep for a touchdown. That was awesome. I would not be surprised if they have a couple other things dialed up for him this game as their number 1 playmaker, essentially, with Rashee Rice out. Like, he's their number 1 guy right now, and he's definitely earned that spot. He's definitely talented enough. I'm really, really excited to see how he performs in year 2, the jump that he takes. I think it's going to be a good jump. You know, I think his rookie season might have been slept on by a couple of folks just because of some of his drops and some of the things like that. He's a talented kid, and he's going to do really well this year, I think. I think he's going to be a main focal point of this offense, and I'm expecting a pretty big game coming out in Brazil. So 31-14 Chiefs for me. Kyle, what do you got?
I'm going to let Randy and Tom go first because I don't want to steal their guy that they're watching.
Okay, we'll go counterclockwise then. Instead of going clockwise, we'll go counterclockwise.
Sorry, Garrett, I wasn't trying to throw you off. I don't want to steal their player
I didn't
to watch.
Think about Kyle, but we're going down to the southern hemisphere, so everything's like reversed down there, right? Isn't that how it goes? Like the toilet
spins the other way or whatever.
Yeah, all that stuff. Now it's not Australia where they're upside down, so I don't know how South America avoids that because
the toilets are upside down in Australia.
Yeah, you didn't know that, Tom?
Logistically, that's a nightmare.
They all have harnesses on. They have to wear ground harnesses so they don't fall into the sky. All that
helps it helps keep the spiders out.
Yeah, land road.
No, it helps keep the spiders in.
we don't want the spiders escaping. You're right. They harness the spiders too. I'm trying.
I don't know what they call that in Australia, but in America we call that a bullseye.
They probably call it.
Never mind. Anyway, score predictions.
I'm glad you decided to have discretion on that joke. I appreciate it.
I think No, I got distracted. I forgot what the joke was. I think
Score prediction.
it's going to be closer than we want it to be because it's the Chiefs. And I think we're going to see probably a couple of miscues because of the altitude, because of the environment on both sides. So I'm going to say
down there.
I'm going to say 21. No, I lied. I'm going to say 24 to 30,000. No.
It's a crazy way to give a score prediction, Tom.
I'm
the losing
confused.
score first. Unless
I think the Chiefs are going to win.
Okay.
30. We'll say 34 to 24.
Okay, that's fair. Also, just a quick note: 2,500 feet is the elevation of Sao Paulo, so that's not too bad, right? I mean, Denver's like double that, isn't
Not
it?
as Denver's almost triple that.
Yeah,
Denver's like
Denver's almost 8,000 feet.
Oh, is that? I guess you
It's
would
like
know.
7,200 or
5280, Kyle. I just googled it. 5280. They have it on their like logo and stuff. That's why I was like, maybe up in Telluride. Maybe up in Telluride in the mountains.
Telluride's 9,000 feet. That one's a little different.
Damn. Well, we ain't playing in Telluride. We was playing in little Sao Paulo. All right, so 34. What do you say, Tom? 34,
it was
24?
Mexico that was
34, 24, yeah.
Yeah, Mexico's pretty high up there as well. Yeah. Randy, what do you got for us?
I think we broke the 30-point mark but one time last year, and it took us to the AFC Championship game to do that. I do think we get back to a little bit of our old self, so I've got my set the tone shirt here. We're going to start off with a bang. Pat's still here. Travis is still here. I think they're going to make a statement, so I'm going 34-17 Chiefs.
All right, pretty close to what I was thinking for sure. Pretty close.
Any player? I know you both kind of skipped it. Any player you guys are
skipped out on his?
Travis is still here. Travis is going to have he's going to have his typical Charger game.
Tom, who's your breakout player of the game?
Or player you're watching?
Or just your player of the game?
It would have been Jalen Royals. Man, I was so excited for that matchup. I know it was a long shot.
We've probably not gotten a lot of action anyways, but I feel you.
Yeah, so I think
maybe defense. Defense.
That's what I was thinking. I personally like Omar Norman Lott as a prospect, but I think Ashton Gelati is going to have some good matchups with Trey Pipkins. So we'll go with Gelati just to see again what those young guys can do, but. That might be he might have the better matchup, and he's being asked to do something that,
he's done before.
He's supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Not
valid.
A completely different job.
That's valid. Okay, Kyle, send us home.
So, like I said, I think this offense is interested in making a statement early about exactly who they're going to be this year. But a lot of that depends on that left side of that offensive line. And I want to see Josh Simmons against Khalil Mack. I want to see what it looks like when the Bullets are live and it's on a stage, it's on a standalone, it's on Friday night. The whole world is watching this game. And that guy's going to be a Hall of Famer one day, most likely. What do you do? What does it look like? What are the growing pains, and how do you respond to them? Because he's going to get beat occasionally. It's going to happen, especially against a guy like Khalil Mack. A guy's got 1,000 tools in his bag to pick from, and there's no way Josh can have seen them all because he simply hasn't played any NFL actual games, but enough games to see a bag like that. So. What does that look like? How does he handle it? How does the guy standing to his right help handle some of that stuff? And how does he handle that position change and movement? But mostly I want to see what Josh looks like when he's put to the test, because they're going to test them out. Both of those kids are going to get tested early and often. That's kind of the thing for me. I anticipate Josh to be Josh. I don't anticipate us having any real discussions of, oh man, that was tough, or that was a rough day, or any of that. He puts in too much work. He's done too much stuff all off season. The way he approaches it has been a professional the entire time. Just from listening to everything that they've discussed about him, there was an article on him. I'm trying to remember who wrote it. I want to say it was Nate Taylor. Maybe it was Jesse Newell.
Might have been Jesse Newell, or maybe Nate Taylor. I think it was Jesse Newell though.
I can't remember. It was one of the two. I read the one of them was on The Athletic. Jesse is
it was
now,
Jesse Newell.
Yeah. Jesse's on The Athletic now. Took Nate's spot. That's why I wanted to think it was Nate for a minute, but Nate's at ESPN.
Yeah.
But his approach has been a pro from day one, and even really before day one, going back to the draft process, listening to the way that whole situation was handled. So I'm looking forward to Josh Simmons handling himself in this game. And with that, if that side of the offensive line does what it's supposed to do, I don't know what the Chargers are going to do, because if they can't get pressure, it's going to be a long night. I've got Kansas City 38, Chargers 23, and they come out 2 scores and roll and get out in a hurry and tell everybody, hey, look out, because we're coming and this offense is back. There's been a lot of offseason talk. My favorite one most recently was from Willie Colon and his "The Light Show is over, the end of an era." I was like, okay, well, let's find out. Because as Patrick said, been listening to everybody talk all offseason. Let's go play ball and see what happens.
Hell yeah. Let's do that thing. I'm excited. I'm so excited. I'm so happy that real football is back. We get to watch the Kansas City Chiefs play football once again in meaningful games, and on a quest for yet another Super Bowl. Get to a 4th straight one. Hopefully win and just further cement this dynasty that we're already in. It's going to be around for a long time. We ain't going anywhere. I promise you that. The Chiefs are not going to go anywhere. And it all starts this Friday in Sao Paulo, Brazil. So with that, that'll be everything we've got for you tonight. We appreciate everyone for tuning in. Over 200 of you tuning in tonight. I really, really appreciate all the eyes and all the ears listening. Be sure to follow us at Kingdom Says Pod, Facebook, X, and Instagram. Check us out over on YouTube, the Kingdom Says over there. That's going to be the number one spot to find all of our content. You can find a lot of good stuff. We got a lot of good stuff over there. If you like listening to podcasts, but you also like seeing our beautiful faces, you should go over to YouTube, because I promise you it's worth it. And other than that, though, you can find Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcasts at. We will be back next week, probably for a couple episodes. As we're getting into the season, we're going to ramp up the episodes and whatnot, get some special guests on, all that good fun stuff. It's going to be a really good 2025 NFL season, and we are very, very excited to share it with you all. So have a great rest of your nights. Tune in for the NFL kickoff tomorrow. Eagles and Cowboys should be a good game. And then all eyes are on Friday. YouTube TV, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time.
YouTube. Not
YouTube,
TV.
Just TV. No
YouTube.
TV. Yeah, just YouTube. I think it's also on local markets if
it is.
On a local market
it
on
is.
TV. Yeah, so that's cool. So yeah, it's going to be a good time, good season. We appreciate you all rocking with us. And we'll see you guys on the next episode of The Kingdom Says.